Alright guys, so we had an interesting road trip to Montana. We never actually made it to our final destination that we had planned because the roads were just too icy and too treacherous. We made it to Billings and then we decided to turn back from Billings, and that's what we're doing right now. We are just outside of Billings. We're heading east on I-90, and we're going back to South Dakota. We're going to stay tonight in Spearfish, which is in the Black Hills region, and then from there we're going to see how the roads are, because there was just a blizzard, another blizzard that hit the Midwest, so the roads could potentially be bad for the next day or two. So we may stay in the Black Hills a couple more days to let the roads clear out and then make our way back to New York. So that's what we're doing right now, and just wanted to show you the area here. This last night we were driving through some really heavy fog in this area. This is definitely not a trip you want to do in the winter time. I definitely don't recommend this trip in the winter. The roads here in the Midwest and the West, they're just not safe in the winter time. There's a lot of black ice, and the area is just so vast that the highway departments, they don't plow all the roads, and even when they plow them, they don't salt. They actually don't salt the roads at all. I don't know why. My guess is to save money, because imagine trying to salt all the roads in these giant states. It costs a lot of money, so they basically don't salt the roads at all. They just let the sun hit it and try to melt it out by the sunshine. But the problem with that is, what happens is even if the sun hits the snow, the leftover snow, the snow gets packed by the wheels, and then it refreezes and turns into solid ice. So, it's just really treacherous. It's not so much the snow that's dangerous, it's more the ice. The ice is the real big killer out here. They actually don't get that much snow out here because it's a drier climate than the east. So, but even if they have like 5 inches of snow, when they plow that snow, it leaves a little bit of snow on the road, and that snow on the road turns into ice. And so that's one of the big downfalls of coming out here in the winter. So I definitely don't recommend this trip. Even if you have four-wheel drive, it doesn't matter, because ice is ice. Four-wheel drive is not going to save you from ice. It'll help a little bit in recovering from when you fishtail, but it's not going to prevent you from sliding. So, and so that's what we're doing now. We're going to Spearfish, and then we're heading back home to New York. We're going to redo this trip again in the summertime when the weather's better. And we're really excited to come back here in the summer, in the warmer months, when the roads are safe and we can really explore all the different places we wanted to explore, like Glacier National Park and Yellowstone, and not really have to let the weather slow us down and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it for this road trip, guys. So I'll update you as we come along through the different states and show you some of the scenery here and everything that we encounter along the way. And we're actually driving through the Indian reservation again, and it's all new to me that these Indian reservations, you're not allowed to stop when you drive through them. And there's been a lot of controversies in different states because some of the tribes, the Indian tribes, were stopping people on U.S. highways. They had roadblocks set up, supposedly because of COVID. They wanted to set up checkpoints, and they were actually turning people back that were not there for essential reasons or who weren't locals, and they were actually turning them back. And that led to a lot of problems between the governor of South Dakota and some of the reservations, because the governor said that they couldn't do that. They weren't allowed to set up roadblocks on U.S. highways. But that's just something to consider if you ever come out here, to the west, is that you have all these Indian reservations, and they're basically like their own country. They have their own laws, they have their own police. They don't have a lot of police, but they do have some police. And these reservations are also very dangerous. There's a lot of crime, there's a lot of drugs, And so you really have to be careful when you pass through these reservations. This one particular reservation we're driving through, the Crow Reservation, has a lot of shootings and 50% unemployment, and only 30% of the people graduate high school there. So it's a really, really bad area. And so you really have to exercise caution when you drive through those reservations. You have to be on red alert at all times. You never stop. You're not supposed to stop. And you know, just pass through. Hold your pee if you gotta pee. You know, if you have to stop and get something, just wait until you pass through the reservation. Don't stop by any means. You know, so that's important to know that if you're coming out here. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And out in the distance, I'm not sure if you guys can see, but we're actually getting close to the Bighorn Mountains. You can see in the distance there's some white caps over there, and those are the Bighorns. We're getting close to the Bighorn Mountains now, which are, I believe, up to 14,000 feet, some of the highest peaks in the Bighorns. So we're going to be driving through the Bighorns, and I'll bring you guys some footage of that, so stay tuned. Alright guys, we're driving through the Crow Indian Reservation now. We're close to the Bighorn Mountains. If you look to the right over here, you can see the Bighorn Mountains in the distance, and those mountains go up to 14,000 feet. They're pretty big mountains here. It's like a separate mountain range in north central Wyoming. And there are moose in those mountains. There's black bears. I think there was even one grizzly spotted there at one time in the last few years. But it's a nice little range, little mountain range. It's about the size of the Black Hills. It's maybe about 100 miles across. It's not too big, but nice little area here. Look at those big skies, guys. That's why they call it Big Sky Country. Look at that beautiful sky, the clouds, so pretty. You could deal with the roads here. The scenery is insane. It's probably one of my biggest complaints here is really just the roads. Other than the roads, everything is pretty good. So stay tuned, guys, and I'll bring you footage from our trip back to New York. Alright guys, we're entering the Bighorn Mountains, close to the Wyoming border. I wanted to show you how pretty these mountains are. They're huge, huge mountains here. Look at those mountains in the back. Gorgeous. Look at that. Bighorn Mountains, guys. Beautiful. We're on I-90 now. I-90 eastbound. 14,000 foot mountains, guys. You'll never see anything like that in the east. There's more of the Bighorns, guys. We're entering Bighorn Mountain area. Look at that scenery. Those mountains, guys. Bighorn Mountains. It's so crazy, guys, on this road here. When you drive in the West or in the Midwest, you always feel like you're going slow. If you're not going like 70 or 80, you feel like you're going slow because the area is so vast. that even if you're going like 50 or 60, which is fast by East Coast standards, you feel like 50 or 60 is like 30 miles an hour, because it's such a big area and you just don't feel anything changing. Like you don't see the, you know, the movement as much, you know, like you don't see the like you're really covering any distance. It's crazy. Here's more of the Bighorn Mountains on the right side of your screen, or kind of straight forward. The peaks of the Bighorns are above the clouds right now, so we can't actually see the peaks, but you can still see a good amount of them. We're passing by the Bighorn Mountains, guys. Just wanted to show you these buttes over here. It's typical western terrain. It's beautiful. The dark color pines on them. Amazon. Somebody's getting some late Christmas presents. Look at the Bighorn Mountains. Wow, guys, look at those Bighorn Mountains up ahead in front of you, in front of this truck here. Look at those massive peaks. Beautiful. Those are thousands and thousands of feet. We're actually driving like 4,000 feet up. So although they don't look high because of, you know, we're already at a high elevation on this road. We're at like 4,000 feet. But those go up to like 14,000, so very high altitude. And it's funny, I was actually working out in the hotel over here, and I was doing just a little bit of dumbbells because that's all they really have, and I was just doing some curls and some lateral raises, and I was like really out of breath. You know, it wasn't like really out of breath, but I could feel a little more out of breath than usual, and it's because of the altitude. I was trying to figure out why, and I said, oh yeah, it's because of the altitude. So, you know, it takes a little while for you to acclimate to the higher altitudes, but once you get acclimated, you have better endurance when you go back down to lower elevations, because your body increases the red blood cell count to deliver more oxygen to the muscles. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Here's some more of the Bighorns on the right, covered in snow, over behind these little hills here. Those are the mighty Bighorn Mountains. Look at that. These are the Bighorn Mountains. More of the Bighorn Mountains, guys. Look at those mountains in the back. These are the Bighorn Mountains. Covered in clouds, so you can't really see many of the peaks, but you can still make out some of the peaks. leaving the Crow Reservation now. We're going to be entering Wyoming soon. I think here we are, Wyoming. Leaving Montana. And here we have the entering Wyoming sign.
Drop to 28.
Look at those Bighorn Mountains. Alright guys, we passed by the Bighorn Mountains, and now we're going close to Sheridan, Wyoming, and we're driving through the northeastern part of Wyoming now, and we're heading towards Spearfish, South Dakota. We're going to be passing by Devil's Tower, which we're hoping to see tomorrow, weather permitting. Possibly even today if we have time, or if the roads are good enough. But this is pretty much what you're going to expect when you go out here. You know, when you go out to eastern Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, all these states, they look pretty much the same. It's all just these open, desolate prairies and dry areas. It's extremely dry. I'm sure in the summer everything is green, but you know, it's a dry area, very arid, very open. You know, that's pretty much what the West looks like. You know, Wyoming, Montana, Dakotas, this is what you're gonna expect to see scenery-wise. It's pretty much all the same. It looks like this everywhere. Not much change really. You got these little buttes and hills and just open prairie with cattle ranching mixed in. So that's what you'd expect to see out here. We're driving through Sheridan, Wyoming, close to the Bighorn National Forest. Here's Sheridan, Wyoming. Just want to show you guys this little town. If you're going to be around the Bighorn Mountains, this is the town to stay. There's hotels, there's everything here. It's a good sized town. As you can see the little sign over here, Sheridan. You look on the right side of your screen. See Sheridan. It's a good sized town. Everything is here. I believe they have a good amount of hotels and stuff, and there's a little village, so if you want to hang out in the Bighorns, then this is the place to go. It's right next to the Bighorn Mountains. So we just got off of I-90. There's a scenic pullout here so you can look at the Bighorn Mountains. Look at this, guys. Look at this terrain here. This is absolutely beautiful. It's secluded. The Bozeman Trail. Not sure what that is, but there's a big sign about it. far from Yellowstone, as you see. The Bighorn Mountains on the right here and Yellowstone right there, so not far from Yellowstone here. Just look at these beautiful mountains, guys. Look at that. Crazy mountains. Well, these aren't the crazy mountains, but they are crazy beautiful. Look at that. You guys got to make it out here to the west. There's the rest of the highway out here. Very windy up here. Blowing my cap around. Look at those mountains, guys. Look at that beautiful peak. Look at that. Maybe we can see an elk somewhere. Look at that. Alright guys, we're getting close to Gillette, Wyoming, and I want to show you these Badlands over here. And these aren't really a park or anything, it's just the terrain here. It's like a Badlands type terrain. You can see over here on the right side of the road, all these different Badlands here. It's very unique. Very unique. This is where they find a lot of the fossils, just like the Badlands in South Dakota. So just wanted to show you guys these Badlands here. Very cool, very unique. There's some of those Badlands back there. Those Badlands here. Interesting terrain. These are actually the first trees I've seen in a long time. Well, at least first deciduous trees here. Look at this. Actually got some deciduous trees here. Wow. Haven't seen any of these in a long time. Since Ohio. Wow, that's cool to see. That's very cool. Alright guys, we're driving through Gillette, Wyoming. Nice little residential areas here. Right side you can see these houses that were built up, nice modern houses. You can tell the area is very affluent, maybe not rich, but looks like a safe, good area to live in or vacation in. So this is Gillette, Wyoming, guys. This is what it looks like. Small town. More of those little houses here. Gillette. We're going to refill our fuel tank and continue on to spearfish. And I'll keep you guys updated with what we see. Alright guys, we're going through Gillette, Wyoming. I want to just pan around and show you the town here. It kind of reminds me of Middletown, New York, close to where I live. It's just like this little town with a lot of shopping centers and stuff like that. Very small town here, but it's got everything you need. They have a Hampton Inn here. So you can stay overnight if you need to. There's a Home Depot. I see there's a Home Depot over here.
1 mile. Take exit 128 on the right.
So this is
toward
the
point of
Gillette,
entry,
Wyoming,
then
guys.
take the
There's the
first
Home
left.
Depot there. It's the first Home Depot I've actually seen. I haven't seen a single Home Depot anywhere except here in the West. It's a nice little town here. Nice little houses. School over here. It's definitely one of the nicer towns in this area. And look at that huge moon. The moon looks spectacular. Look at that. Look at that crazy moon. Wow. Beautiful.
Take exit 128 on the right.
That full
toward
moon, guys.
point of entry, then take the first left.